well. So I just did a WATE, that's Channel 6 News interview, the monthly astrology of the month with Amber Lynn. But there's a lot of stuff that I didn't cover because we just didn't have the time. And I'd like to go over some of that stuff right now. So first off, you'll recall last month was Virgo season. It is now Libra season. That means the sun is in the zodiac sign of Libra, not the constellation of Libra. You all should know that by now. This is the time for all of us to get relational. All of us, not just Libras. Everyone has Libra in their chart. We're all in Libra season. We can all get relational. The glyph, or the symbol for this sign, is indeed the scales, which you can see right here. It's like the kind, this is not a digital scale. This is the old market scale where you would put potatoes on one side or maybe a computer on one side and some gold bars on the other. Now, often we hear about Libra as embodying the attitude of balance. Like we want balance, we want harmony. But it's really important to note, I think, that it doesn't have to look like balance. It's more about bringing awareness to the scales rather than just necessarily trying to balance them. You may want to balance the scales. I think that's great if you want to balance the scales, but you don't have to. This is about you initiating some kind of relationship with the scales, which is often you and others. You on one side of the scale, someone else on the other side of the scale. But you might not want balance. You might want to stack the potatoes or the computer in your favor and give some fake gold, and come out ahead. You might want the advantage, and maybe that's okay. Or you might have some kind of shadow self-esteem issue where you don't feel like you deserve an even portion. And then you might actually sacrifice yourself for someone else's benefit. That's like the shadow side of Libra. And it is, you hear a lot of Libras actually validating that. And we could talk about Venus in that regard because, Venus is at the fulcrum of the scales here. And she represents relationship, love, beauty, hugging, stuff like that. And what you value, too. And, some astrologers think of her as representing the money as well. So, since Venus generally is considered a benefic, nice goddess who likes people to get along, she might tend to promote, in the interest of greater harmony, self-sacrifice. But that's really depends upon your relationship with Venus, with the scales, and so there's nothing inherently self-sacrificing about Libra. I think that's really important. It's more about awareness of the scales. Another thing that Libra represents is this, and this is actually much more exciting to me. So imagine with me, if you will, that you're witnessing the beginning of the universe before it was even created, like the primordial dark black sea of material that isn't even moving yet. There's no wind stirring its surface. There's no creatures inside this sea. It's just like an undifferentiated, vast, amorphous blackness. But it has one thing, it has awareness. Now imagine that suddenly out of nowhere, this sea of blackness has a thought. The first thought of the universe. What is this thought? Is the thought over? Or is it still somehow imminent in our creation? You can think of when you ring a bell, you bung, you give it that initial hit on the bell, and then that hit's over, but the bell keeps ringing for a long time, and then you can't even quite figure out when it stops ringing. You just know at some point it's supposedly over, but those vibrations are actually moving through the universe still. Do they ever really end? Since the universe is all connected, little by little, piece by piece. So there's this question, is the first thought still happening? What it was the first thought? I don't know. Do you know? But not only that, but what is your first thought? Think about when you were an infant and you had this kind of awareness of life. You could feel something, but you didn't know what it was. And then through the space, through the air, the empty air, you saw some form emerge. You saw color and shape, and you realized, oh, mama. Your first thought might have been mama. Well, that thought remains for a long time as you live with your mother, presumably, or your caretaker. And even though it's in the background, it's still very preeminent today. The idea of us being different from them, the separation of persons. So that's all Libra territory. Now, it sounds really obvious, like, yeah, okay, I'm different from you. But it's really important. It's what it means to be human, I think, is very wrapped up in this idea of self versus other. And I'm not sure that's as true for animals. It may or may not be. I don't know. I can't speak for the dog. I have a dog. I don't know what the heck she's thinking about most of the time. Dog psychics out there, you can let me know. But it's not just that we're different. It's like, in what ways are we not different is also an issue. For instance, and this is an often used example, but it really makes the point well. The air we breathe is composed of a bunch of molecules that are interspersed with each other, and I'm literally breathing in and breathing out the same allotment of molecules that you are, because they mix really quickly. If you've seen the dust move through the wind, it's like crazy fast. So we're all sharing the same air when we're in the same room, at least. And it's inside us. It's inside our bodies. Like, I am you on that level. This is not superficial. It's very intense when you think about it. And it's great. So it's like Libra season asks us to not take the self versus other concept for granted. Like, you can study it. Libra's an air sign, so it's about thinking. And it's about initiating thoughts. What is the first thought? What is your first thought right now? What was your original thought? All right, the other thing I want to talk about was the full moon. Now, it's going to look like a very full moon tonight. Today is Monday, October 6th. However, it's not actually quite full tonight. It's not full until tomorrow morning after sunrise if you're in East Tennessee here. But it sure looks full. You can treat it as a full moon if you want. There is a difference between an almost full moon and a full moon, so you might want to consider that. Even though it looks full tonight, it's not quite there. And like, what does that mean for something to almost be there but not quite? It's like you're at the end of a ball game and you jump up and you're shooting your three-pointer, and the ball is soaring through the air, and then the lights cut off, and like, you don't know if the ball is going to make it or not. Like, that's what's happening tonight. It won't be till tomorrow morning. The lights turn on, the ball's on the ground, you see the scoreboard, you're like, did you make it or did you not make it? That we will know tomorrow morning. So Aries, being opposite of Libra, is opposite in most ways as well. For instance, Libra is relational, Aries is more self-oriented. They do have one thing in common. They both are cardinal, so they have that initiating quality. So tonight, you're basically tomorrow, this week, being asked to be proactive about who you are in relation to others. Yeah, you can study it. Libra's already asking us to do that. But Aries full moon's being like, what is the fullness of your situation with someone else? Whose table are you sitting at that you want to really flesh out the relationship? You can explore it like in great depth if you want. You can get into it with others if you want. It's okay to even have an argument, but you might want to make sure not to let your greatest desires facilitate the argument. Make sure that they're also at the table with you. So the last thing is, every sign has an advisor, a ruler is what traditionally we call it. You can think of it as an advisor. It's kind of a softer way of thinking of it. And in this case, the advisor of Libra is Venus. Every sign naturally follows the other, just because the sun sails through the zodiac in the same way every year, at the same speed, for the most part. There's slight variations in the speed of the sun, but it's like negligible for our purposes. So the ruler or the advisor of Libra right now is in Virgo, and it will be there for one more week. That means that if we want advice from Venus on how to be this week in Libra season, we can think about Virgo, which is where we just came from. Last month I talked about organization versus chaos. What's the relationship there? I talked about a pixie like tipping over a tree in a forest with its pinky. and that has some Virgo qualities, something about endings and death with Virgo. So, what did you learn last month, basically? And how can you directly bring those lessons into this week with the Libra sensibility of relationship? Okay, that's this week. In a week, though, Venus will leave Virgo and enter Libra, which is its home. And then you're kind of being invited towards greater ease and friendship with those who are sitting at your table. So, to recap, this week, bring your lessons in from Virgo season last month, and then next Monday, Tuesday, the week after this week, and thereafter, lean into more harmony and friendship with those who are sitting at your table, whatever that table might be and whoever those people might be. All right, thanks for listening.